Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this card with the multi-stamp from Kitchen Sing Stamps called Hearts and Roses. Let's get started. Alright, so I've got my colors picked out and I'm going to make a bouquet of roses with these Hearts and Roses multi-step stamps. And the cool thing about Kitchen Sing Stamps and the multi-steps is that you get lots of good diagrams, and you've got this sheet, this sort of cheat sheet on the front. Then I put my stamps directly on it, and you can see on the back that I had actually cut out a whole bunch of masks. But there's a bunch of really great sentiments in here, not just for Valentine's Day, but for anniversaries, for just because, for sympathy. So this is a great stamp set for many, many reasons. Now, I am just now cutting the top off of this to get my stamps out. Previous to this, I obviously took it out the normal way, but this is how I do it. And so I've got my stamps on the color-coded sheet. Those don't come on it. They come on this extra one. And I put my masks on the extra one. So you can see that it's just a lot easier to navigate these stamps if you place them on that sheet. And there's directions in there on how to do that, and there are suggestions on how to stamp out the roses. So very, very easy to do. I'm going to say that it does take a little bit of practice, so don't get disheartened if you don't get it perfect the first time. So I'm going to be using two colors. I'm going to be using Catherine Pooler Cotton Candy and Dusty Rose from GinaK. I'm going to use Catherine Pooler Buttercream, Matcha, and Eucalyptus. So those are the only colors I'm using as far as the stamping goes. So you'll see me do some double stamping. And I'm going to be using some watercolor cardstock and the smooth side. And this is the Tim Holtz watercolor. So I'm going to go ahead and place that in my stamp platform. There's a hair on my screen. And sorry, I'm trying to do a voiceover and I'm looking at this hair going, what the heck? And I'm just going to lay my first rose down. And I'm going to stamp it in the darkest color, which is the Dusty Rose from GinaK, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and dark. So I go 4, 3, 2, 1 on these roses. It's so much easier than trying to go 1, 2, 3, 4, because that last stamping is super light because I want a light pink rose. So then I'm going to put layer 2 on, and I'm going to find my landmarks. So there are landmarks within the stamp that match up. I'm just going to make sure they're matched up. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be stamping off on the next one. So this one I'm going to do 3 or 4 coats of the cotton candy because I want that still a nice deep. It's still in the shadows. Now we're going on the lighter one. Again, I'm just finding my landmarks. Once I get my stamp in place, I'll lift it up and I'll put my ink on and just do 1 stamping, 2 stampings. So it's still a lighter layer than the last. And then on the final layer, I want this super, super light. So I'm going to make sure my stamp is in place. And then I'm going to take an extra piece of paper. I'm going to take buttercream, yep. So most light pink roses I see have a little bit of a yellowy tint in them. So I did it with buttercream. And I really like the results. And keep in mind, too, that these inks do dry back. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my mask down because I want a bunch of roses together. And I'm just going to lay my mask and decide where I want the rose because my masks aren't perfect. And once I've decided where I want the rose, I'll make sure that the parts of my masked flower are covered. And I'll proceed with the same stamping. And yeah, sometimes it'll pull your mask off. Just lay it back down. No big deal. Once you get the ink on there, it doesn't pull it off. But these are nice quality photopolymer stamps. And so they're sticky like they're supposed to be. And so I'm doing the exact same procedure. Same colors, same everything. So 1 stamping of the Dusty Rose. On the second stamp, and the third stamp, I'll be using the cotton candy. And then on the last stamp, I'll be using the buttercream. And my mask came off again. That's one thing, if you you've got wet ink, sometimes your mask doesn't want to stick, and you do masking how you like to do masking. This is how I do it, and I do have a video I'll put in the description box or up there in the corner there, one of my masking videos, so that you can see 3 ways that you can do masking. So coming in with the cotton candy, and this is fairly a repetitive process. It's just a matter of adding masks, moving masks, until you've got a nice bouquet. So, and then on the final layer on this one, I want it a little bit darker with the buttercream, so I'm not going to stamp off. Because it's, farther back behind, it's going to be a little bit darker. And I'll just do a quick stamping there. And again, it will dry back some. So there, now I've got 2 roses. Now I want another rose, and I want my front rose to stay in the front no matter what. So if there's something stamped that can get it, it's going to get masked off. And then I'll go ahead and mask off my second rose. And the masks are really easy to cut because it's really not a complicated image. Even if you wanted to just stamp them and, fussy cut and stack them up, you could do that too. So let me just get this mask on here straight. Give it a little push down, make sure I'm not touching with inky fingers, and then I want a rose up here. So back again with the dusty rose. So you can also, if you purchase stamps from Kitchen Sink Stamps, they do have SVG files that you can download for free if you put them in your cart right away when you're purchasing your stamps. And then you can use your Scan and Cut or your Cricut or whatever it is you use to cut things out, to cut them out. For real complex images, I find that a great value, but you guys know me. I like to fussy cut, so I don't mind cutting them out if I need to. Yep, that was a hair not on my screen, but on my actual project. I don't keep any animals in here, but I guess I'm an animal. We'll go in for my third. Oh, no, this is the buttercream. Okay, yep, and I went ahead and left that darker since it's in the background. There, now I've got 3 roses going on. And the back one is the same size as the others, but there's a smaller one in the stamp set. So I'm going to mask off, and I'm going to grab the smaller one. Oh, that is the smaller one that I stamped. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's been a couple days since I made this video, so my memory isn't the best. But I digress. I'm going to go in again with the small rose and put one right here. And all I'm doing is just stacking roses and creating a bouquet, so to speak. And I already know that I'm going to cut these out into a heart shape because this will be a Valentine card. But you can cover your whole page. You can do 3 or 4. Just have fun with the roses. Make them all different kinds of colors. And Kitchen Sink Stamps has a bunch of different flowers. You could do a whole bouquet. And maybe I will. Maybe you'll see that from me soon. Just with the ones that I have. So we'll go in for our last stamping here. And sorry about that. They're picking up our trash outside. What timing, right? At least they are. We had a week go by where they didn't, and that's painful, believe it or not. So I did stamp off on that one. And you don't even have to use the buttercream. You could use, another light pink. Or you can go in with some deep reds and make your first layer black, so it's a really deep, deep shadow if you wanted some super red roses. All right, so I know that I want to do something at the bottom here. So I'm making sure that these 2 are covered on the side that they need to be covered. That's not on there, right? I can see it. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, I'm going to do a leaf right here. Time for leaves. So the leaves are 3 layers. So I'm going to go in heavy with the eucalyptus. And then I'm going to grab the second stamp and line it up. And believe it or not, the leaves are a little more challenging to line up than the flowers. Okay, I'm going to stamp off and go in with my, oh, that's eucalyptus. The first one was the matcha. And then on the third one, I'm going to go in heavy with the eucalyptus so that I have that depth and dimension. There we go. So, and we'll do multiple leaves this way too, because there isn't just one leaf hanging out. And there's another set of leaves in there, but on this one I end up just using this leaf setup. So I want another leaf underneath it or beside it. So yeah, let's go right there. Get this one masked off. So notice I haven't removed the mask from my other roses. And yep, it picked up my mask, which is okay. And again with the matcha. And I go in twice because I want, you know, a bit of depth of color. And you could do dark greens for these, greens with blues. Sky's the limit. It's your rose. Your rose, your leaf. Okay, stamping off and then stamping in. And then back with the eucalyptus on the third layer. So leaves at least are only 3 layers. And I'm just kind of holding onto my mask, making sure it stays where I need it to be. There we go. The fun part is revealing everything as you take the masks off. And I'll put my masks over on my stamp platform and wipe them off. So now I've got a new area masked off because I want to do, I'm not sure what I'm going to do over here. And if there's some areas that aren't covered, or if your masks are really starting to lift, you can use the, you can use a piece of mint tape or really thin, what is that thing called? Post-its. But I decided I wanted another flower over here. So you see I've got my leaves mostly stamped in. I just felt like it was naked without a flower. So same process. So this is real super repetitive. And one thing is, if you do a bouquet like this, you get lots of practice. So I will say that with any kind of multi-step stamp, just practice. It's only paper. So if you don't like it, flip it over and work on the other side. There we go. I'm not sure. See, sometimes you lose your landmarks, and you see where I stamped on the, part of the reason I stamped on the mint tape is so that I could see my landmarks. Because I know that that bottom portion has a landmark in it. So you couldn't see them with all the masks very well anyway, especially with the light pinks. There we go, and there's our reveal. Okay, so I've got my images all stamped out. I've got my one main rose, and then I've got all my little portions in there, my little leaves and smaller roses and larger roses. And I'm going to give this a good dry, just to make sure that there's no wet ink on here. And you would do that if you were going to do any heat embossing or shading or anything. But I like to come in and do a little bit of shading. And I'm going to use just some pencils. And one thing that does happen to me, and I don't realize, is that I decide to go in and do shading with inks instead. And I've got my Tombow black marker, and then I've got my Tombow water markers. And because I decided I just didn't like the color choices that I had with my Derwents. I wanted darker. And I accidentally picked up black. I picked up my black marker. So I get some black in there, but it's livable. You'll see in the end where it is, because the underneath the leaves are super, super dark. But it's okay. Again, it's just paper, and I'm okay with it. But you see, I just didn't like the match here with these colors at all. So back to the drawing board here. But I would do that all the way around, and now you can see where I accidentally got my black. But it's okay. It still looks good, so I'm okay with it. What I did was I just made up for it by adding black in other spots. And so we've got some nice deep shadows there. And I'm going to go ahead and take that over to my machine and cut it out into that heart shape, and then we'll complete the card. So I decide I better tape it down because it's just a little bit, it keeps moving on me. So we'll get that cut out And yeah, let's do a better size. There we go. That's better. I felt like that was a little too big. I'm glad I didn't cut it first, but it was a little too big to fit on a card. So I'll cut that one out. And we'll finish the card. Yeah, I forgot to edit out that part, so sorry about that. And I'm going to just add just what's on my blue brush around this edge here, just to kind of fill in a little bit of color. I could have left it white, but I really like it with the blue, and it's actually kind of hard to see on camera, but it's definitely there. And then I've got a nice light pink card base, and I'm going to choose a sentiment here. And let's see. And I like that you can preview them, and I love that it's in Spanish, or maybe it's Italian, I don't know. But I'm going to go with the I love you. And I'm going to stamp that out on white, on a piece of white, just scrap paper, I think. And I'll stamp it with the GinaK Dusty Rose. Just get a couple of stamping on there and just kind of stamp it lightly. I'd rather do that and just do several layers than smoosh on it. And then I'm going to clean my stamp off, and I'm going to come in with my embossing powder and stamp over that with embossing ink. And I'm not worried about cleaning it off or dusting it off for prints or anything, because I'm just going to cut it out, so it's not a big deal. And I'll go ahead and heat emboss that. And then we've got a nice bold, bright sentiment here that I'll fussy cut out. Just make sure that's nice and melted. And okay, we're going to pick the heart up. We're going to lift the heart up with the with some this is the world's best foam tape from Pearl Blossom Press. I love this foam tape. It's so wonderful to work with. It's just a pleasure because you can lift it up if you make a mistake. You're not stuck with it. And just another little piece to cover the top there. And the backing comes off really easily. So when I place this down, if I don't like my placement, I can pick it back up and place it somewhere else. After 24 hours, it stays dried on there. Hot, you know, it's permanent, but at least the first 30 minutes, you can pick it up and take it off. So I'll go ahead and fussy cut the I love you, just real quick. It's not a big deal to cut out. You could also banner it if you wanted to. You could stamp it directly onto the cardstock. The only reason I don't do that a lot of times is if I want to heat emboss it, I don't want to warp my actual cardstock. Now, if you ever get a edge like that where it's kind of sharp, I just take my little my Tim Holtz sanding disc that's on one of my Dealy Bobs. What's that thing called? Yeah, ink blender handle. And I just sand it off. It makes it all nice and smooth as if you had cut it in your machine. And just deciding where I want to put that. And I think I'm just going to put it directly down. Or I'm going to pop it up. I don't remember. Okay, it looks like I'm going to put it directly down. Yep. Just going to use my little glue press. And I've got that link down below. Now it's been sitting probably overnight. And so I had to kind of clear off the little mushroom that grows on there. No big deal. And I'll just place that right here. Looking good. I'm loving it. And let's see, what else do I want to do? I think I want to add some sequins, maybe some pearls. Yeah, I think I'll do these pink pearls. These are Trinity Stamps pearls, and they're in the, if you go into Trinity Stamps, they're in the What's New. They're either bubblegum or, I can't remember. I shared these with a team member, and so I gave the team member the containers that they came in and just put these in my own little containers. Okay, so yeah, we'll do 5. I'm just trying to decide on placement. You guys know me. I fuss with placement a lot, but these really kick it up a notch. And with that, I'll be done with this card. I will have this stamp set linked below, as well as kitchen sink stamps. And if you're not a member of my channel, I really would appreciate it if you would like to join. But if not, at least how about subscribe? Give me a thumbs up, all the good stuff. These are multi-step hearts and roses from Kitchen Sink Stamps. I thank you so much for coming and have a great day. Bye-bye.